All right, you are getting ready to watch your almost last video for geometry, second to last video. And this one is on surface area, as you can see, of various prisms, pyramids, cones. And so you'll have a few formulas that you'll want to write down and 5 examples that you'll want to write down. Okay, first theorem is our formula for the area of a right prism. And the area of a right prism is given by 2 times the area of the base plus the perimeter of the base times the height. So when we have a right prism, we always have 2 bases that are the same. So you have basically a top, and then we don't see the imaginary lines down here, but we have a top and a bottom. And what we want to do is calculate the bases, and then you want to calculate the perimeter of one of the bases, and then you are going to take that times the height. Okay, so those are the 3 measurements that you will need to calculate and then add together. Okay, so for example, we look at a present and we want to find out how much wrapping paper we need. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate the area of the 2 bases. So when it's a rectangular prism, you can kind of pick what you have information for as far as what is going to be your base. But the 2 bases have to be congruent figures, so we'll calculate that area first. Remember, we have S equals 2 times the area of the base plus the perimeter times the height. So we have 2 times perimeter of or area of a rectangle is just 8 times 5, base times height, length times width, plus the perimeter. So remember, our perimeter of one of the bases is what we're looking for. So we're looking at that outside edge. So to find perimeter, remember, we just add all the sides together. So we have 2 8 sides and 2 5-inch sides. And we're going to take that times the height, which is 6. Okay, so if we just add those together, I have 8 times 5 is 40, 40 times 2 is 80. If I add all the sides for the perimeter, I get 26. And when I finish that calculation, I get 236. And we're in inches, so it's square inches. So if I wanted to barely cover that gift, no box showing and no overlap, I'd need 236 square inches of wrapping paper. All right, example 2 is another type of prism, and this is a triangular prism, which means that the bases are triangles, and they are colored blue here. So this is one of our bases, and the other base is back here. And we're going to calculate those areas. Remember, we had a formula for equilateral triangles that said that that area of that base is going to be 1/4 times s squared times the square root of 3. All right, so we'll go back to our surface area formula, and it's our 2 bases plus the perimeter times the height. So 2 of those bases is going to be 2 times 1/4 times s squared, so that would be 5 squared, times the square root of 3, plus the perimeter, which again, we just add up the edges of the base, times the height, which is 10 in this case. So I start multiplying. I get 2 times a fourth is 1/2. 5 squared is 25 times the square root of 3, plus I have 15 here, so 15 times 10 is 150. And if I go ahead and just type that into my calculator, I get 171.65 square units. And that's it for example 2. Right, next formula that we have is for a cylinder, which is very similar to the prism because we have the same idea going on, where the tops are congruent and the sides come up at a right angle to make it a perpendicular figure, so we have a cylinder. The formula is the same. We have two bases. We have times the circumference, which is the same thing as perimeter, and we just substitute in what we know about a circle. So the area of the base is pi r squared, so I take that times 2, and the perimeter of a circle is the circumference, which is 2 pi r. So really the formula is the same, we just substitute in what we need to use for circles. Right, so for example, we have 2 times the base plus the perimeter times the height, which is 2 pi r squared, plus pi times 2 pi radius, times the height. So we have 2 pi, our radius in this case is 5. We have 2 pi times the radius again to give us the circumference, and the height, which is 15. Remember, when I don't write any symbols in between here, that's just multiplication. So you could just say on your calculator 2 times pi times 5 squared. But again, we're going to do as much as we can in our head. So 5 squared is 25, times 2 is 50. So I still need to take 50 times pi, plus 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 15 is 150. And I write down my work so that I don't make as many errors. And that's the same as 200 times pi. And the less I have to type in my calculator, the better off we are. So we're at approximately, this will be a rounded answer, 628, and we're in feet, so that would be square feet. Okay, next theorem, surface area of a regular pyramid. Notice the difference is we don't have two congruent bases. We have one base, and then we're meeting up here in the middle. That gives us a little bit different formula. So we have the area of one base instead of two, and then we're going to take 1/2 of the perimeter times a new variable, which is our slant height. So we're looking at how far is it up the side of the pyramid right here. All right, so our first example, we have a little bit of a tough one because I don't have a regular square down here or a triangle. I put in a pentagon. So keep in mind that we can use our formula that we learned a couple days ago, and we have the area of the base is 1/2 AP, or apothem, times the perimeter. So we're going to come back to that. Our formula is the surface area is the area of the base plus 1/2 times the perimeter times the slant height. So I was nice to you today and I gave you the measurement here for the apothem, so you don't need to calculate that, but remember we can do that just like we did the other day if we need to. So I have area of the base, which is 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. So the perimeter is a side length of 6 5 times because we have a pentagon. So that gives me the perimeter plus 1/2 times that perimeter, which is 30, times the slant height, which is 9. So we'll go ahead and we'll try to do as much as we can in our head. I can multiply 6 times 5, which is 30, times a half, so I get 15, times 4.13, plus I have 1/2 times 30, which is 15 again, times 9. Type that into your calculator, and we end up with 196.94, and we don't have any units indicated here, so we'll just go with square units again. Right, one more formula and then one more example. Surface area of a cone this time is, again, the same thing that we just did. Here's the area of the base, and then we have 1/2 times the perimeter, which for a circle ends up being pi r. So it's a little bit, it looks a little different, but the formula is exactly the same that you just did. So our last example. Surface area is equal to the area of the base plus 1/2 times the perimeter times the slant height. So since we have circles involved, we have pi r squared plus 1/2 times the perimeter, which is 2 pi r, times L. And we simplify that down a little bit before we even plug numbers in. 1/2 times 2 is just 1. So there's my formula. And now I can just plug in the values I know. Radius in this case is 4.8. And we have pi times 4.8 again, times the slant height, which is 8.7. And we have a lot of decimals there, so not really a lot that we can do in our head. So we're going to go ahead and multiply that through. I end up with approximately 72.35 for just this portion right here, so you can kind of check your math, plus 131.13. Now we may be rounding a little different than each other, so if yours is just a little bit off, that's okay. And when we add those together, I get 203.48, and I look at my units and I'm in centimeters, so I have square centimeters. And that is it for surface area. Make sure you write down any questions that you thought of while you were watching, and make sure you get these examples down in your notes so you can refer back to them. Thanks for watching.